Hey guys, it's Tarek with RitalinFPV, and so part of our new tutorial and DIY do-it-yourself kits and the tutorials that we're doing, whether it's tutorials for beginners or people that are already in the hobby, is obviously going to cover different setups that we're doing. And one of the things that just got pointed out to me by a customer was that I left out some pretty important information on configuring your DIY-100 the NACE 32 build. And I guess what I did, sorry, let me adjust my seat here. So I guess what I did was there were some little steps that I guess because I'm used to doing them that I just kind of forgot to put in there. So I'm going to do that right now. And I walked him through it, and since those steps worked for him, I figured it would be probably easier if I do a video for you guys. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shift the focus to the bench here. And what you'll see, oops, let me fix this real quick. Okay, so there's going to be a bunch of tutorials coming up this week and in the coming weeks. One's going to be on setting up a X9D Plus from the ground up. I mean, we're talking about from the minute you get it, to flashing it, to loading your SD card files, to configuring it, and then a couple cool little tricks and things that you can do along the way, setting up your telemetry, a bunch of cool things. And it's going to be in stages, so we're going to start with the basics and move on, including setting up the software, OpenTX on your computer, and so forth. What you can see right here, and the keyboard obviously is insignificant, what you can see right here is this is my motor test kit, and this is obviously something you can get on RitalinFPV website. But I've added the NACE 32 board to the top of it, and we're going to do a real quick solder, and we're going to use one of the Black Widow motors. It's not the same model motor, but it's the same idea. And what needs to be done if you are trying to do your DIY build, or if you just have a build and you happen to be using a NACE 32 or any other board, a lot of this will apply as far as this will cover the initial BetaFlight setting and also into BLHeli, and what to do to adjust for that and how to get BLHeli to function properly. I will preface this by telling you guys that if you're using a Mac, and I use Macs, I use Macs all the time. I've got two of them. One of them is behind me right now. They're my main PC. They're my main computers. But when it comes to doing quad configurations, I do default to PC. I prefer the software on there, and I do like the full executable files, programs that we can run, like the BLHeli, versus the Chrome versions, the Chrome apps. So please understand that everything I'm doing is going to be PC based, and if you don't have a PC, you can hit me up and I'll do something, maybe a video for Mac, but I really don't get that many requests. But if you need some help, I'll try my best to help you with that and make a video for you if you need it. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to get started with this, and I can go with an overhead view real quick. So let's do that. And obviously, as most of you know, this will be adjusted here shortly because of the fact that I have to look through these this magnifying glass, which is definitely going to get in the way the minute everything will look huge, except that you'll see my ugly top of my head. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we've got the NACE 32, and let me get to this angle here. So as you can see, we've got the NACE 32 set up, and right now what I need to do is I need to take my Black Widow motor and I need to solder it. Okay, so I'm going to just move this over here. That way it should hopefully get in a better view for you guys as well. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit. All right. So what I'm going to do is on these pads, which there's already videos on how to connect all this. That's part of the DIY build. Sorry, you're going to hear my phone going off left and right. Let me go ahead and mute that real quick. Okay, so the main thing is we're going to get our 5 volt, which on the Maytag board is here. And because of the way I've got this wired, I'm actually going to jump the 5 volt from the servo here and bring it on over. And that way I can power this board. Then we're going to plug it into the computer, and we're going to get things rocking and rolling. Okay, so our signal pads are over here. And let me think. The best way I want to do this just for a temporary is, let's see. How would be the best way? Let me think of the best way I want to get this done. I think what I'll do is, just for now, I'll probably just direct solder this to the Maytag PDB right here. And so because the signal pads are over here, I'm probably just going to direct solder this. I hate to do that right now. Matter of fact, hold on. I'm going to go get a alligator clip, and I'm going to use that instead. This way we can make it a little bit more permanent. So let me grab 2 of these. And I didn't plan on doing this while we were shooting the video, but might as well go ahead. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do this because it's going to be something that I continue to do, and so I might as well go ahead and plan for it long term. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and cut these alligator clips up. Let me zoom out a little bit here, and there we go. Let's just go ahead and do that. Make sure these stay the same length. Okay. All right. Let's save 2 of these for something else, and we'll get going here. So let me go ahead and solder this up real quick. I also, and I will do another video on this too, at the request of a lot of our customers, I went ahead and started a tools blog, or supplies list blog, I guess, that you can see on the website. Did I just do that? Did I cut away a bunch of wire here? Let me see. Hold on. No, it's just real thin stranded. And obviously this wire would be super thin. I would never recommend this gauge wire for like a standard build, but obviously for doing very quick demos, it will be just fine and serve its purpose. So let's go ahead and tin that up, and I will go ahead and solder this real quick. And just kind of find a place to balance it here. So maybe I can get this to hold it. Perfect. All right. It's all about improvising here. All right, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Tin this wire up. And the tinning, the supplies I'm using to do this are actually now listed on that page, and I will show you more of that in another video that's coming up. But right now I really want to address this because I feel like there may be a couple customers that are about to receive their product, and they're going to be asking the same questions about getting your BLHeli to update and flash your software, or I mean your ESC. So I think what I'll do is I will run this. I guess I can use this spot. So let me turn this board again. Sorry for all this last minute thing, but I want to knock this out real quick, and I think this will be best. Let me go ahead and just join them here. So let me just add a little bit more solder to this pad, a little bit more solder here and here, and we'll just go ahead and get these added on. Oh yeah, and that's one other thing that's on the list is the tweezers that I use. People have been asking me about that, and so let me grab a pair real quick, and you will find links to all of this stuff now on the new supplies page. Oh, I don't like coming around there, but let's see if we can knock this out. All right, that looks pretty good. There we go. Okay, and I will probably glue that in there eventually. You know me, I like the hot glue. I will put this one here. Excellent. All right, so we've got those two, and then I think that the NACE 32 might actually not be the way I've built this. I could actually jump another board above. So I think for these style boards, it might actually be pretty cool to. Oh, let's see. How do I want to do this? To grab a. I guess I'm gonna have to. I'll be right back again. I'm gonna grab one more wire that I want to use. So bear with me 1 second. All right, and I think this might actually be pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and just take another wire, and let me make sure I get the length right on this. So, and this will actually be our signal wire for our ESC. So this way I don't have to solder anything. I can just connect the motors and work as efficient as possible without having to solder anymore after I do this. So let me just go ahead and get that done. Okay, almost done, guys, almost done. Now this wire is going to have to be cut down quite a bit because those signal pads are very, very narrow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and put it on signal 1 on this NACE right here. There we go. And I'll glue that down too. All right, so let me go ahead and put some glue on here because I have a feeling with all the movement this is going to become very loose. Let me get some glue underneath it. Then I can lay it flat, and then I'll just glue above it straight down. All right, so there we go. We'll let that cool, and then I'm going to go ahead at the same time and apply the glue here so that these wires stay pretty solid. All right, so while that's cooling down, now it looks like we're going to have our setup pretty good. The only other thing I need is going to be a servo wire, so let me grab one real quick. My bench is still kind of crazy from the builds I've been doing this week. But I will find something here, so give me 1 second. This way we can, well, I tell you what, I just grabbed a new one. My gosh. Everything's in there. I guess I cleaned up a little bit more than I thought. All right, so let me grab a 5-volt, one that I can use for 5 volts, and I'll use the purple. So let me grab that, put that here. Put these away. All right. Now, for this one, because we already have 5-volt wired through here, I'm just going to go ahead and tap into the second pin on the servo, and that'll be running 5-volt. Since we've already got it jumped in here, make sure we don't have, yep, and there we go. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we will pump the 5-volt through here, and we can always run this wire down, but we basically want to bring our 5-volt to this area here. So let's just go ahead and do that. Now you could easily just put this in just like that. That may not be a bad idea, actually. Let me see. Yeah, it may actually work. All right, that way you don't have to do any soldering. And then I'll take another wire. This time I guess I'll make it gray or whatever is available. I'll use brown. Is brown good? Brown good. Okay, so I'm going to use brown, and we'll take that from the ground here, and we'll run that up right beside this, and we will bring it. That's my air freshener, by the way, making noise as it sprays. All right, so I guess theoretically now this should, this hodgepodge should produce what I need to test the system out. So I know it doesn't make much sense, but trust me when I tell you it makes sense to me. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our XT60 plugged in, powered on, make sure that we have no zaps. Excellent. Our naze has power, so we look good there. And we could have powered with the 5-volt from the USB, but I really want to do it this way to kind of keep everything consistent. Okay, so we have our motor right here, and I think now we can come from the top with this. So let's just do that. There we go. All right, so from the top, what we're looking at now is, now these wires are for individual motor testing, so we can leave that alone. And we will put these here. I'll probably actually solder some pins in there so it's permanent, but for right now, let's just give this a shot. Okay, so we've got our voltage running. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the motor, or clip the motor, and I'm going to make sure to cover it as best I can so that they don't touch. And I'm going to clip in ground, and again I'm going to push it forward so it doesn't touch. There we go. We'll try to keep those as far away right now as possible until I can make a more ideal setup. And we have our signal wire, which is going to go right here. Okay, so you obviously heard the chime. So now the next thing is going to be to connect the BetaFlight, right? So I'm going to go ahead and plug in my ESC. Now, since this was kind of impromptu assembly, obviously this will look cleaner the next time you see it, but right now we're not going to make an issue of it. Now, I do need to get this video screen up here for you guys to see, so bear with me a second while I do that. Okay, so we should be able to now, let me add the video. There we go. And we'll put that on the screen first. And, oops, so there it is. And we will, let's see, we will take this one and then we'll put this one. There we go. All right, so you've got the computer in the background. And so we're going to go ahead and automatically start up BetaFlight. Okay. And again, this is really to configure your motor more than anything else. Excuse me. So, and you can see this motor twitching. This is one of the things that I'm going to show you on here. So what you want to do is, the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to go and you're going to want to connect. I'm going to grab my keyboard and let me type to see what version we're running. So you're going to go to your CLI, and we talked about this before because you have to have a specific version on here in order to run. There it is, an ACE32 3.1.7. Now you can run 3.1.6, but 3.1.7 is what I've got loaded here, and there are links on the website to that. And I'll show you real quickly if I can get this to pull up. This is the new website work I'm doing, and we have some links here. And one of them is going to be the news and posts. If you click the plus there, and then you're going to see tutorials. If you click that plus, and then you're going to see the drone for beginners. Now there's going to be a lot more stuff added here. I just added this new menu style. And if you click that, you're going to see where I've given you the link for the 3.1.7 that you need for this board. So make sure you download that and then load it accordingly. Okay, so getting back here. So the first thing that we want to do, and we want to make sure that you guys can see this, right? So we're going to disconnect. And now with 3.1.7 loaded, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and minimize and open your BLHeli. Okay? And in your BetaFlight, one thing I will show you is in your BetaFlight, the way that I have this set is that you are going to have your one-shot set up and make sure your menu looks exactly like this. For your motors, make sure it's all set, and then you can disconnect and you can go to your BLHeli. Now, when you open BLHeli, you've got to make sure that you have the option for Atmel loaded, okay? And you will do the Atmel bootloader for clean flight, and then you will drop down to get your not your speed, sorry, your COM port, which is, in this case is COM7, and you will click connect. Okay, if you do not have that, you will receive errors. So make sure that you drop down the menu and go to the option number 6 on the bottom here, which is going to be the Atmel BLHeli clean flight option, okay? And then you'll click connect and you can click read setup, and you're going to see I only have one ESC, so it's going to give me my one ESC here. Now I've already done the firmware update, but for those of you who haven't, you want to go ahead and click flash BLHeli, and you're going to want to click OK because it's going to automatically have this. So just click OK, and it's going to warn you, and then it's going to start flashing. Okay, so we're going to let that run real quick. And don't worry if it says not responding. It's not an issue at all. It's just writing the data, and it's still running. You can see the lights blinking. There's data going back and forth. There won't be any problem there. All right, and make sure you do have to have your LiPo plugged in for this. If you don't, then the BLHeli will not be able to read because your ESC won't be powered up. Okay, so we're good to go there, and it says it's fine. At this point, you want to go ahead and click yes to write. Now, if you have more than one motor, which you'll have 4, so 4 ESCs, you'll actually repeat that step 4 times, and it'll automatically prompt you to do the next one. So just click OK and then yes, and keep going through. When it's done, it'll give you a list of everything here, and you'll click OK. At this point, you're going to want to make sure that you have Programming by TX checked, and it should be by default. It'll be checked, and when you're done, you can go ahead and click disconnect. You'll hear your tones. All right, now rule of thumb here for me is I go ahead and power off my, well, basically you disconnect your LiPo. Obviously my lights are turned off, and I always disconnect my flight controller, and I have reasons for that, and it's because I like to see everything power off. I've had issues where in the past some things have gone wrong because I haven't fully powered it off, and you want to make sure that you save and disconnect from BLHeli before you disconnect your LiPo. It's just a good rule of thumb to go that route. All right, now that we're done, we're going to go ahead and plug our USB back in. We're going to go to our BetaFlight, and we're going to click connect. All right, at this point we want to go to our motors tab, and again keep in mind I only have one motor on here, but you will have 4. Remember, you don't have any props on here, right? So at this point you're going to now calibrate your motor and your ESC, and you're going to go to your arming option and click this. Again, make sure your propellers are removed, and then you're going to take your master slider and go all the way up. Now without any LiPos in there, nothing's going to happen. Once it's set to this, go ahead and put your LiPo, plug it in, and you're going to hear these chimes. Once that tone is done, take the master and drop it all the way down. Okay, now you've just configured your motor. Now, if you notice, this motor and this ESC will start jumping, as you can see here, okay? Let me kind of give you a bigger picture of that. I see it's not actually on the picture, so let me zoom out. Okay, so if you notice, the motor is now twitching, okay? And so this is what prompted the call that I got today. Hey, what do I do about this? So here's what you do. You come over to your configuration and take your minimum command ESC and drop it down to about 960 and click save and reboot and watch. As soon as you do that, motor's done twitching. So we're adjusting the sensitivity and the minimum command, the ESC value when it's disarmed. Where are we at on the ESC? So what I've noticed is dropping to about 960 usually makes it pretty much stable at this point for this ESC, and this will apply to the Black Widow motors in general, whether you have this model or the model above or what have you. Now, one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to now disconnect, and you're going to still leave your LiPo in, and you're going to go over to BLHeli, and you're going to read your setup. You're on your right COM port, so read your setup real quick. And there's your motor 1, okay? Now, if you have multiple motors in, and I do not, but if you do, you're going to want to look at the, over here in the bottom right, the minimum throttle and the maximum throttle. You have to look at all 4 motors, and you want to set your minimum throttle to the highest number of all 4 motors. So let's say you have motor 1 is 1020, motor 2 is 1020, motor 3 is 1024, and motor 4 is 1020. You will go back and you will highlight all of them. You will select them all and you will set it to 1024. You will set it to the highest value of all 4 motors, okay? So you would basically bring your slider and you would click, you would do this and you would adjust the maximum. The maximum throttle you will set to the lowest number of all 4 motors. So remember, it's kind of opposite. Minimum throttle will be the maximum number of all 4 motors, so that all motors have the same minimum throttle, which will be the highest number that was taken from all 4 motors. All 4 motors will have the maximum throttle set to the lowest number of all 4 motors. So let's say this one's 1980, another motor is 1990, another motor is 1986, and another motor is 1988. You will take all of them and make them 1980 because that's the lowest number in the maximum throttle. So all you do is make sure all motors are selected. Now I only have one here, but you would do this, and you would just turn around and go to 1980, or if you had to adjust it, whatever you did. Now this one was 1020, so I'm gonna leave it, and you would click Write Setup. And since it was the default here, it's going to say there's nothing to write, but it will actually show you all of them, okay? At that point, when you're done, you can remove programming by TX, and basically that was what we did over here. Programming to do the calibration and set it in the flight controller. We don't want to do that, so we are going to now remove that because we're already done, and you would click Write Setup, all right? Now, that is all you have to do to configure your BLHeli and to flash the Black Widow motors. When you'll disconnect, and now that I've already done my configuration, all I'm going to do is I'm going to reconnect, and I'm going to grab this without trying to shock myself here or short this, and you will go to your motors, and you can just see when you make a test run. Oh, I must have a bad signal here, sorry. I think that, yeah, I'm going to end up with a bad signal because I do not have my ground or anything done. But ideally what you would do is, sorry, you would basically move your throttle and you'll see the motors run. And unfortunately, because I don't have it set up properly with my grounds and everything, let me see if I can get something to happen here. Hold on 1 second. Let me turn this off. And let me see if I can make this work a little bit better for everybody. And I'm hoping that this would do this, but I'm not going to get it to, there we go, hold on, there we go. I just had a loose wire there. So once you move your throttle, you're going to see everything kind of spinning without any issues, okay? Now I need to turn this off because obviously this is a temporary setup and I don't like the way it's sitting. I would have been happier had it been obviously fastened, but this was temporary just to show you guys what it did, okay? So I hope that that helps you guys on what you need to do with your BLHeli and your NACE 32 and how to set it up in here. If you have any questions, hit me up at tarek@CycloneFPV.com. Again, this is a real quick tutorial on setting up the BetaFlight and BLHeli portion for the DIY-100 build, and also just in general on how to do it when you're doing your build. And I will make this whole thing look better later on. All right, guys, if you need anything, let me know. Again, it's Tarek@CycloneFPV.com. If not, have a great time and safe flying.